Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another wonderful session of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today this is a double whammy. We have we have big hitters in the house, and they've done the work, and now they want to share how they managed to scale through for that for the pursuit of, most of us who want to go back home, and they've been there, they've done that, and they're successful. Now they want to share the journey with us. So today I'm having Osaretin Chukuka in the house, who is the founder of DBA Solutions in Lagos, and it's a building infrastructure provider in Lagos, West Africa. Anyways, so and we have Mr. Chukuka as well. Chukuma in the house, who is an investment banker, an entrepreneur, and the founder of Racecourse Capital. So they live in the US, Delaware, and Dallas, and with Lagos as well. So we have a worldwide conversation today. So welcome, Mr. Osaretin. Welcome, Chukuka, to this house.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, Mr. Oswald, let me start with you.
All right.
Let's hear a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Bendel boy, as you know, from Benin. I left for Nigeria, what is now 15, 16 years ago. Started a company back then called DBA Solutions, which I run. And we build out infrastructure in Lagos and all over West Africa. So, as you know, we've written this book, which is really to talk about our experiences so far over the last 15 years. It's raw. I mean, it gives the real journey, so that nothing is missed. Nothing is missing.
Great. We'll come back to the book. Mr. Chukuma, Chukuma, coming to the gist. So, how are you? Just tell a little bit about yourself.
I'm awesome, Victor. Really nice to meet you and be on the show. My name is Chukuka, as you've said, and I'm a Bendel boy as well. I come from Delta State. Been doing investment banking now for a little over 20 years. So I've always done investment banking, but in the last few years, I decided to try out my creative side, and so I'm sort of spending time with Oswald on the book, but also in film production now. So my core is investment banking. Did that both on Wall Street as well as in Nigeria, in so many different capacities. But for now, I still do that, but I'm still, dabbling with the creative side.
Yeah. So, once again, welcome. See, there's so many of us who wants to who've been burnt going to, or who have these stories of being burnt going to do business in Nigeria or in Africa. You hear so many phantom stories and you don't know, but you guys have come out to share. What inspired this book?
So I think basically what happens in Nigeria, well, I wouldn't say Nigeria, I would say entrepreneurship. You go through a lot of experiences, right? So as you experience these things, you're like, wow, that story, nobody would believe it, right? If I tell somebody that story, they won't believe that happened. But anyway, that story will make a good book one day. You laugh about it. And you also find that when you give people advice, right? People who are either working or work for themselves, you give them advice about certain situations using your stories. They're left going, thank you. That's really good advice. You should write a book, and that's kind of their compliment. So you start piling this thing up, and then wait a minute. So you start taking notes of your experience, your stories, and things that get cooked up. So what happens is that, you go through a situation and you find yourself distilling wisdom with little phrases, that catches on and hooks onto your brain. You write it somewhere. So that's what ultimately inspired the idea of writing a book. But what's interesting about writing a book is that I think society tells you should do it somewhere later down the road. So writing a book was always something I wanted to do. but it's something I say, we'll do it 20 years now. Down the road, we'll do it, birthday number 70 or something of the sort. So that was where it was pegged. And I was just keeping notes. We write a book when we're 70. Then the Nigerian election came up, right? Chuka and I are sitting in our office in Lagos. We share an office in Lagos in Victoria Island. And after decking some better food, I don't remember what we ate that day, Chuka. Was it pounded yam or?
Pounded yam and some good egusi.
Pounded yam and egusi. So after putting that aside to better use, delicious. Chuka said, you know that we're about to go on a holiday for 6 months. I'm like, what do you mean holiday for 6 months? He says, after this election again, as usual, we're going to be on, they won't pick ministers. So we'll be sitting around for 6 months and say, hi. Because it seems like in Nigeria, we're so resilient that we forget. I think one of our greatest tools is forgetting the last pain, and that's what keeps us going. It's like childbirth. We forget it. So when he reminded me about that, I said, yes, what we're going to do with this our time, we must make it account for something. So I said to him, Chuka, let's just do this book. Joke, that's how pen to paper. And now we are 10 chapters in, and not even 10 chapters in. We have a book that's about to come out in a week or so.
Absolutely.
That's great. Okay, let me just bring you guys back. So how did you guys actually meet? Because I need to know some of the journeys that you took. Chukuka, how did you guys meet?
You want to say this one, Chuka? I was stalking you.
What can I tell them? So basically, back in the consolidation era, I'm sure you remember 2004, 2005, there were all these bank mergers, thanks to Chukwuma Solido. He asked that the banks move to 15 billion, at the time, 15 billion naira. And what was it again now? The requirement, I think it was 20 billion. I think it's right. 20. Yeah. Anyway, you needed to show up your capital. So there were many mergers happening. UBA was now looking to be acquired by STB, which is Standard Trust Bank. UBA then was Kimbele Osage them, and then Standard Trust Bank was Tony Elumelu. And coincidentally, I was working on the reverse acquisition, but on the UBA side. So there I am, going to Tony's house to introduce him to someone else that is also important to us, Ayo Spencer. And Ayo is a guy that we partnered with to do business in Nigeria. Myself, Oswald, and I partnered to do business. So this was sort of like 06, 06 thereabouts.
No, it was early 05, if not 04.
Oh, sorry, right at the beginning. Yes, so early 05. Yeah. Right after the consolidation merger of UBA, what's happening.
Late 04, early 05, late 04. You don't
know that Q1. Yeah, so I went to Tony Olumelu's house with Ayo to say, Tony, let me introduce you to one IT guy that I know from America that can really help. And I got there and I saw one guy. I said, who is this guy that's coming from America already doing IT? Turned out to be Osaretin Chukuka, right? Osaretin Chukuka. I said, who is moving around coming from America with 3 names? I mean, it's very odd. But I said, okay. So we met, and we were, gisting, talking to Tony, talking to him, trying to get a sense of what he was doing. That time, a big boy, he was in America. He was a Goldman, considering coming to Nigeria. Tony Elumelu was sort of, enticing him to come and help out with the network rollout. And there I was, on the other side of the deal, sort of on the financial side of the UBA transaction. So that's kind of how we met. We met at Tony Elumelu's house.
Yeah, but you missed that one part. So here's the funny thing. So when I was in America, so in 2004, 2003, 2004, it was like every Nigerian you meet at that age, it didn't matter what company they work for, VP, not VP, making 300, 200K, it didn't matter. Everybody wanted to go back to Nigeria. It was a beautiful thing. Everybody, Nigeria. Every conversation was, okay, did you hear anything? How would you do? It was a conversation. So there are several groups that people belonged in, email groups and sort of like that. One email back then, before social media, one email came out like this. The email pretty much said, "Why are you in America? Bring yourself home today." after he read this email, after the email, and the email was like one of those abuse and then compliments and then encouraging and then abuse emails. Like it was abuse you, it will give you compliments, then it will abuse you again, then it will encourage you. Very confusing email. But by the time you finish reading the email, the thing will hold you in your chest like, "Hi, this guy that wrote this email, in fact, he's not only a bastard, but I have to meet him." Do you understand? So when I read the bottom of the email, it said Chuka Chukuma. I now blasted one email to the guy. I say, "You, this is your email. Okay, no problem. I challenge you. I'm trying to move to Nigeria. Let's talk." So he never responded to me because, you know, he was off in Greece or something, hanging out with his wife, touring the world or something. What big men do, you know that thing big men they do. They just say, "I was traveling." Hey, he was traveling, no phone, no, you know, back then, like, if you drop your phone, you don't finish.
Don't finish.
Mind if I give you, hold the phone, that phone not go get email inside. You don't leave email for house. Those were the good days, right? You go leave email for house. So,
Absolutely.
So I had already known the name Chuka Chukuma because I've been looking for him. That's what's interesting. So when he now said, "Hi, my name is Chuka Chukuma," I look at I say, I can't believe I seen a Michael Jackson I meet. That's how I met Chuka Chukuma.
That's why I left it for you now, because only you can tell this story well.
It's for one guy, but it's okay. The Lord is with you.
Okay. So you started this business in Nigeria now, and you've been going for over 10 years now or more, if I'm correct.
We started the business in 2007. So it's 13 years.
Yeah.
So what are the typical obstacles that you faced?
Faced in starting or faced on a day-to-day basis?
Faced starting off and moving forward.
Well, Nigeria is an interesting place to do business. I mean, a number of things come into play. One of them is recruitment, retaining, finding people who share your vision, finding people who have the right educational background or the right experiences. So there's not a lot of depth. I mean, if you even think about it from the perspective of, we're talking about moving back to Nigeria, but you look at what happened in the late 80s and early 90s, you know, we had a lot of people leave the country. So the number one, people say about oil, our resources that go in oil. Some people are mining. They caught some Chinese people mining gold in the north illegally. Those are not the resources that we're really losing. The resources we're really losing is people, right? Mm-hmm. Professors, the doctors, us who are leading. So what's now left is now an education system that is now hobbling, right? So the product in the education system is always a struggle to use for your business. So that's one. Resources is very difficult. The lack of certain regulation in place, the lack of certain rules that apply to some and don't apply to everybody is a problem. You find, I mean, Chuka, you can tell the story. Well, maybe not tell the story. We'll save that one. You know, we had the one where somebody showed up at our office and said we have to pay TV tax, which should be funny to you because you live in London and you know the TV tax. That one is for BBC, license. Right? Yeah. So what is Nigeria TV tax going to pay for? What's that going to support? NTA, Abby?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just imagine somebody at your door trying to shut down your office because you haven't paid TV tax.
With 6 area boys, 2 police, and a bunch of other tax.
Yeah. So there's a evolving landscape around regulation, around rules. There's rules that are announced nationally, but then an agency can say, "Oh no, we're not doing that. We're doing something else," which gets confusing. Clientele, dealing with customers can also be interesting, but you know these things grow you. You know, it's a very, very amazing place to do business because it's like a live MBA. Every day is a business case. Every day. I mean, if you look at things like FX, where else, you know, do you have your receivables losing value while you are waiting for it? It doesn't happen too often. There are not too many countries. If there are, you count it on your hand. Nigeria is one of them. You can be waiting for receivables. Doesn't matter if it's $1 million, $2 million, $300 million, Naira. It can be losing value as you are waiting for it. So it's an amazing place where you constantly have to stay on your toes, and it really trains you for interesting abilities, we should say.
Okay, so Chukuka, listen. The challenges the obstacles most of us know, the underlying tunes that we face doing business. Are you talking about, no, let's talk about the challenges now, tech challenges that are currently happening and how you guys manage to scale it, because we want to go back, and there's some of these things that you guys have gone through that we don't need to like reinvent the wheel. So the challenge that you guys saw tech-wise, maybe man-made, some of them man-made, like the TV tax thing. Now those are man-made regulations to like remove something. But the tech challenges right now, so that people can actually go back. How did you guys?
When you say tech challenges, well, sorry, what do you mean exactly? You said
tech challenges, because you're more into infrastructure and all those kind of stuff. So tech challenge like IT,
okay.
roads, we understand those.
Sure.
Yeah.
So just in general, right? If you want to be successful in Nigeria, you have to be a jack of all trades. You can't be a specialist. And the reason for that is because you have things like power, that itself is a living, breathing organism that is fighting you every day. And what do I mean by that? The grid cannot support the entire country, which means that your first power source is not the one you're getting from from the grid, right? From the national grid. Your first power source is your generator. Your second power source is some kind of alternative power solution within your house. So whether it's, they call it a UPS or an inverter or some kind of battery-based system. So those two are actually that critical infrastructure you need to build, whether you're in a house or in a business, right? And you got to understand it in great detail, because it will fail you or make you. That's the first thing. Then you have to figure out which one of the many services in terms of telecom infrastructure will deliver, especially now. Look at what we're doing. We're all, doing this interview, but we're in developed countries, right? So if you're doing this in Nigeria, a couple of things can go wrong. Either light, literally the electricity goes out, or the bandwidth isn't sufficient because you have shared network, and it just lends itself to a situation where you can run into a lot of problems because you don't have enough bandwidth, right? So you claim that you're working on the cloud, but if you're in Nigeria, you know better than to run only on the cloud, because if power goes and or your internet goes, all of a sudden your entire office that was built on this fantastic cloud is not worth anything, right? There has to be an online, offline solution that you kind of work through. So you still do archaic things like backup data locally, because those data on a weekly basis, you may need to reach out to it to reach that receipt or that invoice for the client. But if you put everything online and the light goes out because you built it like you thought you were living in America, then you're finished. The other thing is, in Lagos in particular, if you were to do a movie about Lagos, traffic will be a character in the film. It's a thing in London we talk about weather all the time, right? So London people are always talk, the weather, is it going to be sunny today? There was a little bit of it's always a conversation starter. In Nigeria, and especially in Lagos, you will talk about traffic, and so it affects your planning. Everybody is, a lot of times people are late for meetings because, can you imagine the traffic was a lot today? So some of those critical infrastructures can make or break you. And building a solution, leaving, if you want to go for a meeting that's 15 minutes away from your office, you have to go 2 hours early. Otherwise, you may not get there in time, right? So it's better to be 30 minutes or 40 minutes late than to be an hour and a half late and then telling everybody that there was traffic. So some of those things are very critical.
Great. Can you give us just one typical example that you actually went through? Just one. Just remember.
There are too many. So imagine you have a bid submission for a major transaction. And unfortunately for you, this is in the height of rainy season, April. Now, the kind of rain we have is similar to the one that happens in any tropical zone. It's torrential. It's literally cats and dogs falling. Mm-hmm. The traffic is, as they say, bumper to bumper. And you've got a submission for, a $200, $300, $500 million transaction where you're raising capital you're pitching to raise capital for a company, and they say, please submit your bid by 5 p.m. on one of these Fridays from hell, that the traffic is amazing. You will, to make that pitch, you will have to get out of that car, which Oswald and I do all the time. We have tons of, terrible stories about, getting on an Okada, which is the bikes, or getting on the keke, which is the three-wheeled motorcycle, like they have in a three-wheel rickshaw that they have in India.
Yeah.
And we get on it, and unfortunately, we get on it with a guy who has just drank something called monkey tail, which is a locally concocted drink.
And all of a sudden, ride on 2 wheels.
No, this is a real story.
I know now.
And all of a sudden, Oslo and I go from, we need to submit this bid, to, oh my God, Chuka, we're going to die. Send a message to your wife. I'm saying, you send a message. He's like, no, you send a message, because both of us are holding on. Nobody has hand to even, send any message. And this guy is on the sidewalk, trying to hit people, trying to do all kinds of stuff. So that is a typical day in Lagos. But Oswald,
he was driving on 2 wheels. Don't mind Chuka. Chuka was afraid. Me, I brought up my camera. I tried to tape it, because nobody will believe this. The guy was trying to drag, he came out on 2 wheels. Lord help us.
Okay.
It's funny. So, I mean, just to add on to what Chuka said, I mean, generally, people who want to move back to Nigeria, you have to plan for the unexpected. You have to take the unexpected as the potential expected, right? Where you could have 3 power solutions all fail, and you're going, wait a minute, I had 3 power solutions. So you have to have a backup plan, and it ultimately teaches you to look around corners. I mean, you're looking around corners, 5 corners down the road. If this one fails, then I'll do this. If this one fails, for instance, a Friday, going to submit a bid on a Friday, on a rainy Friday in Lagos, is like when you're first told to submit the bid on Friday, you should try to submit it on Thursday. Friday, there's a number of things that happen on Friday. Friday is multiple prayers, is when the prayers are really serious for Muslims. So that kind of shuts things down and blocks things up. And if you not add rain to it, forget it. It's just like also simple things that it's like you really need to do an analysis. Like, okay, tell yourself you want to submit a bid on Valentine's Day in Lagos. You won't make it. There's no way.
You wouldn't have known that Nigerians were lovers, but Valentine's Day in Lagos, the city shuts down.
Yeah, but shuts down in traffic, as in people are stuck. So you do things like, I'll give you an example. One of my ways of solving traffic is my apartment is walking distance from my office. As in, forget this. Okay, traffic today. I'll just start walking home. So those are the kind of things you have to think about in a relocation to Nigeria. You have to plan, and ask questions.
So you don't just jump the gun and say, poof, I'm going, because...
No, don't just carry your bag and just start coming. Because, one of the critical things that I realized very early on, because, as Chuka was saying to you earlier, my very first gig was at UBA. So UBA actually brought me into the country. So that's one of the things you need. You definitely need soft landing, right? But if you have saved up a lot of earning money, and you want to, as part of your business development, you've done a lot of research, and you want to come to Nigeria and start a business on your dime, then you better plan a little harder, because you're not going to have that, as like the phrase says, soft landing. So it actually helps you to, you're working with somebody, you're delivering value to them, but you can use that period to also do additional research that you couldn't do from America, right? You couldn't do from London, because you're not there every day. You now start saying, okay, if you turn left, that's what happens. You turn right, that's what happens. So you get a sense of your bearings while on ground. So soft line is very critical. So you need to understand that, be it that where you're coming from, you are the number one, whatever you do, don't forget your support structure where you're coming from, right? So if you're in London and you are the number one professor, don't forget all the assistants and associates that assist you to create your material and your research. Don't think you're just going to port yourself to Nigeria and then immediately be that person. Don't get me wrong, the capacity and the ability will always follow you, but you didn't forget your support structure, because when you get to Nigeria, you may not have that same support structure, right? So that's the critical thing that in that transition phase that you have, that you think about.
Yeah, it's good now that you guys are successful doing business in Nigeria now. I know that if we only talk about its success, it won't be balanced. So you must have done something that you failed. So walk us through how that happened.
Chuka, you want to talk about things that is this to them? You said fail, and then
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just swapping. Go ahead, Oswald. Go ahead. I'll talk next.
well, there's several. I mean, there's several. You know, Nigeria is one of those places where you can drown in opportunities, right? You can drown in possibilities. You're a place where there's so many things to do, so many. So there are several ideas that have been considered, that have been worked on, that just didn't go anywhere. And I'm over here trying to think of one because there's just too many flood into my mind at once, right? There's so many things that you think you're going to do. You're going to build this, you're going to build that, you're going to start this business. There was a time we had, okay, this one just popped up higher. There was a time that Chuk and I had these, we had these guys who had a solution for bus ticketing, you know, and it was a really good solution. They were very young guys, very smart. And we were negotiating with them. The conversation actually failed at negotiation, and the idea never happened. They actually never executed the idea. There's a lot of dead ideas. But I think if we had partnered, if that conversation had worked out, then we would have given the right guidance to help them deploy, you know, that idea. And that idea is like right now it would work perfectly because there's a few banks I know that are actually looking to invest in that kind of idea because they see it as, you know, obviously it's already done other ways. So, you know, in Nigeria, sometimes you see things as the future, but all you have to do is just travel and see that the future is already happening, you know? So when you are working from a Nigerian perspective, you make statements like, oh, I see it as the future. You know, it was like the day where, it was the day Chuka and I we actually were in Miami, right? And we were at a cousin of mine's apartment. And this apartment is like on the, I don't know, 90-something floor, something ridiculous. And as we stood up there, we were like, you know, you get a bit of a, what's the word? You know, you get to a perspective. Your perspective gets reset because when you are in Lagos, you know, hustling, trying to figure things out. You know, some of my projects at the time were, you know, 12-story building, 13-story building, and to you they were huge, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not speaking down on those projects. Those are huge projects, and I appreciate them and thank God for them. But here I was sitting at a balcony on the, I don't know, I think like 100th floor, 96th floor. So it gives you perspective of what is possible and how much further we have to go, right? So there are several projects that we tried to attempt to do that didn't work. And you know, a lot of them fail for different reasons. Either rules change under you, or because you don't have the right resources, or financing, partnering with the wrong people, you know, ranges from a number of things. And a few of them also work.
Yeah, let's stick on the partner with the wrong people because most of us who try to do business in Nigeria and fail because of that same word, partnering with the wrong people. Chukuka,
yes.
Can you boil down on that?
So I'm smiling because I've got, you know, tons of stories on that. I mean, I think that even in our book, we talk about incomplete stories, right? The problem in Nigeria can be sometimes that there are people in the market that are seen as leaders or, you know, they are captains of industry in a particular area. But because nobody actually knows their complete story, they don't know how they got to where they are. They may have some sketchy behaviors and characters, you know, and characteristics that you may not be able to Google. And so you go in seeing this guy or woman who is in this powerful position. You are just coming from abroad, you're clueless, and you're new in the market, and you don't have the relationships that you need because your networks are your oxygen. And you show up with this fantastic idea to revolutionize, you know, healthcare records. Because right now, when you go to a hospital, they will go and bring the file, you know, from the back room. But you have this solution to put it on, and you go and pitch it to some investors. And the end of the story is that they basically took your idea and ran with it. And part of the reason for that problem is because there's not enough data in the market. There are not enough books of complete stories. There are not enough, you know, resources to really do the analytical research that's required to identify who and who, you know, who is who, right? Who's the right investor, who won't steal your idea. So when you're thinking about partnerships, you have to, as a matter of fact, doing business in Africa and certainly in Nigeria, know who, I mean, banks talk about know your customer. As a young entrepreneur looking for investors, it can't be that you found this guy by Googling him or met him at a conference and that's the end. And you're happy to, you have to align things like your values, align things like your principles, figure out what they're really about. And those things will help you determine the right type of investors to approach.
So that's basically KYP, right?
Absolutely.
Know your partners. So you have to share values, virtues.
Okay, great. So speaking about that, the KYP, does your book, because this book now that you guys have written is from your experience, hands-on experience. Yeah. So does this book actually walk us through the step-by-step that covers these KYP and other parts? What does your book cover?
So let me say this. When some people read this book, Chukuka has to move to which island?
I cannot mention the island because they'll be able to find me. Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's why I stopped. I was going to see if you fail and say the island. Right?
Can't fail.
So Chukuka will have to relocate to another place. You cannot do it again. So to describe the book as per your question, I would say it this way. Somebody said this to me the other day. They said the book tricks you into learning something, right? So the book is basically what you're experiencing right now. Is me and Chuka discussing, telling our story and having a conversation about it in real time. And then the lessons about our steps. We moved from America. We both had great jobs, right? We came to Nigeria because we were passionate about Nigeria. Our starting business in Nigeria and why we started a business in Nigeria and some of the experiences we had along the way. And that's why it's called, a journey, right? A journey in African entrepreneurship, right? Because it's actually journeys, because it's two journeys, and that's one of the things that is quite interesting about Chuka and I both writing the book together, is that we're actually telling two different stories. Our experiences are quite different, right? He came in, became a big-time investment banker. I mean, people go look at the man's LinkedIn. He acts so humble, but the guy was a super oga, right? He investment banking. I came in to do IT transformation work. Interesting enough, both in the banking sector, but very separate worlds.
Very different.
And then how we both transitioned, and there's a lot of growth. The book talks about a lot of growth. You see how the friendship evolves, how there's change in position of who does what and who does what in the friendship. And then how all that interacts with Nigeria. So the idea of how do you pick a partner, or understanding who are the type of people you should partner with is very evident in the book, but you have to absorb it. It's not going to be there in like, one, make sure the person they brush teeth. No, you're not going to get that, right? But you'll get a sense of what a true virtuous person is, right? And understanding that, look, people generally show themselves. It's just that we don't pick up on it. You come in Nigeria, you see the guy has a fancy car, he lives in the best part of the neighborhood, all of a sudden, wait, that must be a partner. The other things, does he go to church? You don't know. Does he love his wife? You don't know. I mean, not to say don't get personal, but I'm just throwing things out, right? So what do you know about the person, right? What do you know about their story? So Chuka kind of hinted at it just now as an incomplete stories, right? If the story is not complete, where somebody tells you their story. I woke up on Wednesday, and then on Friday, I'm a millionaire. Like, wait a minute. Say the story again. I woke up on Wednesday, and on Friday, I'm a millionaire. Sunday, I'm going to do Thanksgiving. Wait, slow down, bros. What about what happened on Thursday, right? So if they can't tell you what happened on Thursday, that should be a hint as to go and find out what happened on Thursday, because you know what? You can be the next Thursday. Now you are the next Thursday. So that it's all there, right? In a sense that you have to really embrace it to understand the things to look out for.
And that's on the front end. On the back end, you've got things like that we haven't even gotten to. So we've just started the journey of legacy, right? Where you're thinking about how you mentor others, how you need to, find mentors yourself. We talk about, what projects are you going to do that people remember you for? We're trying to make heaven, so that's important to us. But at the same time, when you look at the way in which the challenge with drawing an entrepreneurial graph in Nigeria, especially, but other parts of Africa as well, is that you don't have anyone that you can say on day one, as Oswald was just saying, he started this, he did this, therefore I will do myself. So what our kids do is they say, okay, I want to start a business. I want to do something in the tech land. So let me go to the bookstore. So they get to the bookstore, but our tech heroes today are yet to write stories, because the concept of writing a story in Nigeria is still 80 years old, 70 years old, or I've made billions at 45 or 50, then I write a book. But the truth is, you can write a book, as you eloquently said, about failure. You can write a book. Our book is called In Pursuit, Journeys in African Entrepreneurship. Why In Pursuit? Because we are still on the road. We are not anywhere near where we want to go. But we're journeymen, we did go, right? The story is still ongoing, but there literally is so much left. And then the other part that we thought was very interesting was, and important was, who should you be looking at as your role model? Who should you be trying to be like? And reframing that within the context of values, success, because how before they used to say the only thing that mattered about a company was profit. Then the whole ethical investments came to the world and environmental issues and stuff. And then they now started saying, no. If you're just making money, but you're selling drugs to children or you're doing tobacco, that's not good enough. We want you to be, socially conscious, so a Tesla, for instance, is doing better and has better growth prospects today than maybe an Exxon, right? Because nobody wants to be destroying the environment. So likewise, we're saying, as you look for entrepreneurs that you want to model yourself after, don't just Google richest people in Nigeria, because I don't know who they are, but I'm saying they may not fit all the value systems that are yours, right? So you sort of have to maybe lower the scale to the next level of rich and still meet the criteria of, following God and doing things properly and not, right now COVID is on, right? So a couple of millionaires and billionaires are gonna come out of this COVID crisis. But did the person do it as a result of selling, one masks that they bought in Wuhan and shipped to Lagos, and then they were able to sell, they bought it for nothing, or they even dashed them they got given those goods that were supposed to be destroyed in Wuhan, but they brought it to Lagos and they resold it and made a lot of money? Or are you the one that owns a pharmacy in Lekki in Nigeria, and you are, selling vitamin C? Like last week you were selling for 500 naira a sachet. This week you're selling for 5,000. I guess you've hammered. I guess you've done well, but within the context of what we're discussing, Oswald and I would not think that you rank very highly, because as a result of your gain, many people have suffered, right? So that's not necessarily the type of entrepreneur that we're promoting.
Wow. That is because there's so many, like as rightly said, there's so many incorrect stories, incomplete stories. Yeah, where you just hear today, tomorrow, this guy is like a millionaire, multi-millionaire, and the next week he's broke again. So on that context, how would you look at the entrepreneurial landscape in Nigeria right now, in Africa? Would you encourage someone in the diaspora to like dip in?
Oh yes, please. All are welcome. There's so many problems. Entrepreneurs are problem solvers, right? So entrepreneurs are people who take calculated risk, right? So you take a risk and you measure it out, and then you come and solve a problem. So there's so many problems: healthcare, distribution, manufacturing, technology. Every sector in Africa needs people who are coming to find solutions to and deploy them. We can't depend on the public sector, so the private sector has to take a lot of the load of developing the continent. And we also shouldn't depend on multinationals coming to do it, because that's what's happening, right? We should take the risk ourselves and invest our resources in solving this problem. So we definitely think that people who have great ideas and the capacity to deliver on those ideas should be rushing back, right? It's a difficult thing to do. and it's not for everybody as well. It can give you PTSD if you don't have a balance and you don't know how to find your roots, your square roots, as they used to say. If you can't find your square root, that thing will turn you around. You know, it will turn you around and useless you, as some would say. But outside of that, it is an amazing feeling to create value on the African continent. Amazing feeling. It's not. I mean, I don't think there's anything more fulfilling than that. So I actually create value on the African continent because there's so many opportunities. So many. I mean, it gets to a point. Sometimes you can sit in a room with people, and by the time you leave, you have a suitcase of, I don't know, dozens of real executable possibilities of things that you can do, right? I mean, you want to toll road. You want to do farm. I mean, most entrepreneurs in Nigeria, once you get
film, look at what's happening in film. Look at what's happening in across all the creative industries. Look at so many things are happening. Netflix, I hear, where I've been in Lagos like 7 times in the last, if not for COVID, they'll be there. But they've greenlit, a couple of movies. That means what in English? That means there's an opportunity for 1, equipment rental, 2, studios, 3, technical skills. I don't mean just the grip guy or lighting or whatever, but the sound guy. And you need dozens of them, not one person. Right? You need writers like never before, and they better know how to spell and do all the crazy things you need to do. Use pun and use similes and really get some interesting tips. So there's a whole landscape, but it is, as also says, not for everybody. You go, unprepared, and the biggest problem you can have is go to Lagos or Accra. Maybe this last Christmas, people went to Ghana for the return. Oh my gosh, I got there, so many beautiful people. It was so fantastic. And then you go back to, I don't know, Switzerland or Germany or London or New York or wherever you came from, and you tell the people there that you don't like it here anymore. You want to move to Africa.
You're not doing it again.
We are not doing it again. And then by February, you have reached Ghana. You go to Accra, and then return is over. Everybody's hustling. All the people that you were partying with in December, you're like, where are all these people? The guy who gave me his car to use for 3 months, for the 3 weeks I was around, the free Airbnb I got. Everybody's back on the grind now. Who has time for you? And besides, they were only interested in you because you were visiting for 2 weeks, So now that you're here, you will spend those your own dollars. They won't pay for you. So there's so many factors to consider. It's funny you mentioned this question about going home, because I literally spent, was it hour and a half? Literally just yesterday. Some random person, I haven't spoken to her, and we were colleagues. We worked together up until 2007. She left Nigeria. She's been in America now, for a long time, 13 years. But she's getting that itch, because there's an itch you get. They scratch you, I want to start going home. I don't know why I'm in this country. I can't even get plantain, when I like it. I'm missing my...
look at this.
Exactly. I want to let me be going home. I'm tired of racism. It's dangerous to drive one black.
No food goes sweet again. No matter
exactly.
What, it won't be sweet.
Exactly. So when that happens, especially after I come back for Christmas, you'll go to eat eggs. You'll be like, oh, these eggs are not nice. In Nigeria, in Ghana, in South Africa, our eggs are fresh. My mother has a hen behind, all this rubbish. Meanwhile, it's not the reality. You have to plan, you have to prepare. And that's what our book does. Our book, we didn't call it this, okay? We gave it to a number of very influential people to read. Different people, Asian, African, different people in diaspora, local. Everybody came back and, one person said it's a Bible. Another one, this is a guide. Another one, I can't believe this. If you want to invest in this thing called Africa, if you have not read this book, it's like, how are you going to really make this investment? So we're overwhelmed with some of the responses. But the truth is, a lot of the stuff we're telling you, many more pieces of advice, nuggets, and the thing is, they are wrapped in, it's like, the cookie, what do they call that in Chinese people give you?
Fortune cookie.
Yeah. You know, a lot of times fortune cookie, you know, some are not so great, but some other ones when you open it, oh wow, I'll keep this, you know. So there's a lot of nuggets that we put, just one line here, one other sentence here, because we didn't write it from the standpoint, as Osaretin said earlier, as a guide, do this, do that. We didn't do that. We just said we'll keep it free, you know, we'll talk, we'll tell you our story, and we'll give you advice. And that's the format under which it's done.
Yeah, because funny you mentioned that itch. When you get someone that has that itch, you can talk from now till next week, and the conversation, man. And if you have that itch as well, and somebody is talking about that itch,
I'm not listening.
See thy kingdom come.
I told you, I said in 2003, 2004, it was a boiling pot of itching people, and everybody in that pot. They are all in Nigeria right now. Every single one of them. All in Nigeria. Only one guy is in Nairobi. All in Nigeria. Where are you leaving? Did you go? That person went, Tunde went, K, he didn't even tell me. Or they will say, we are doing a party. When you get there, they will not say, it's farewell party for this person. You say, you feel betrayed. Like,
yeah.
And these were all people who, I mean, like, for instance, I was most great jobs, fantastic jobs, Wall Street, Goldman, all the top firms. In fact, that's how we met, right? Senior positions, proper positions, they were all itching. It was amazing, you know. That would have made a good movie, Chuka. Too bad you didn't know.
It still will. It still will, because that story has been told. And we also chronicle. We don't just cover the sort of 2000s, right? Because, you know, a lot of times when you're in a generation, you assume that not only you are Kakon, it's only your generation that has moved back or migrated or immigrated. It's not true. You know, my mom also went in her own time to go to school in, you know, Europe somewhere, and came back, wanted to rush to come back to Nigeria before, what did I say? October 1st, 1960, before our independence. So her own age mates, you know, 80 years old, you know, they were trying to rush home so that they could, you know, become one of the first, you know, people running things, right? First teacher, first this, first that, from Europe and everywhere. So the point is we cover the migration trends from, you know, back in the days, 60s, 80s, you know, what caused it in the 90s with all the wicked rulers that were, you know, lording over. Some of you are still around now. Can you imagine?
I think you have to move somewhere very different. When he's talking like that with his eye open on a recorded TV show and pointing finger, you move to that special island. You know, so Chuka and I had lunch with a professor in DC a couple of months ago, and the guy told us a story about, very decent guy, very, very decent guy. You know, one of those professors that a lot of Nigerians know, because a lot of Nigerians passed through that school. You know, Chuka and I posted pictures with him. Come and see action. You met this professor. Like we didn't know we met Michael Jackson, you know. So the guy told us about when he finished his thesis paper for his master's. He said, when you finish the paper, what they used to do back then, you would just pack all your bags, leave the stack on the table with a note telling your best friend who has not finished his own, I don't go. Please help me submit it. That was the rush and the fervor people had for Nigeria back then to get home very quickly. You know.
And this was 70s, Abi? Or 60s? Late 60s, 70s. Yeah.
You know.
That means this thing is a natural instinct in all of us that came from that are in the diaspora to just like one day we need to like go back, and if you find if you have that itch, you need to like let it go. You need to scratch it properly.
Yeah.
If not,
absolutely,
That's why people find different ways to do it. They find projects. They do. You know, there's some doctors that have clinics in Benin or Lagos, and they just kind of run it remotely. You know, people find different ways to feed that or scratch that itch. You know, so that's how it goes.
Yeah. So one more thing. Why did you? Because the last time we chatted I asked this question. why did you guys decide to like share this story? Because not everyone would. You can just chill out, but not everyone would. But why did you decide to like share this?
Just to say, I mean, we are givers, right? We are givers. We mentor, we help people, we have different foundations that we're part of that we help to support people with. And we honestly come from very humble backgrounds in terms of our parents and our training. So with that kind of demeanor, we honestly feel like the only difference between, somebody today that's Nigerian, that's successful, and somebody today that's Nigerian, that's not successful, is really opportunity, right? Because our people are smart, our people are hardworking. Africans want to do well. Nobody wants to be begging and looking for aid and all this. They want, but the opportunity is not there. And so, to whom much is given, much is expected. So, when you have been fortunate, and it's just fortunate because if I had a twin brother and I was, I didn't leave Nigeria, maybe the person left, maybe they too would have also had the opportunity to work in Wall Street and do this and do that, right? So we just felt that, okay, we've gotten all these fantastic accolades and, CV builders. In the early days, you're building CV. Once you come out of that racket and you're now looking at what you want to do, yes, to feed your family, but also you're thinking of impact, you're thinking of legacy, you're thinking of other people's children, right? Somebody that is, 20 years old, 18 years old, 21 years old. What can we do now to help them not make mistakes we had and give them rare opportunities that will propel them to the next level? For all of those reasons, we said, you know what? We have to tell our story, because if we take the typical narrative is, one, you are blown, you've made a lot of money, and you want to tell everybody about it. No problem. Two, you have you are 80 or you are 75, and you don't know how many more years the Lord will give you. But this 80th or 75th birthday, people must know the 1,000 friend circle you have, your children's friends, they must know what you did, so that at least for, when you go to the afterlife, they will be using it to remember grandpa. Dexterity. But for us, even before that, while we are alive, and we still plan on, doing another one when we are 80, because that's a different story. But for now, while we are in the trenches, while we are still crying, while we're still on the journey, while we are still battling, invoices coming out, people that are owing, trying to, morph the business post-COVID, even while we are thinking about ourselves, we're thinking about others, and we're trying to invest in their lives in a way that will enrich them, not just now, but for generations to come.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So, Oswald, what's your hope for this book? What's your hope?
So I'm not one of those entrepreneurs who would say, come on stage and go, money doesn't matter, right? Money is not important. What is important is the feeling. No. Money is a tool. So the hope for the book, really, to be honest with you, is that it gains critical acclaim, right? Because Chukuka and I believe that it's really good work. And we believe we stumbled onto it. That's what's interesting. We look at it and go, we're actually surprised by the product. To tie back to what Chuka was saying just now, one of the key things we understand from our environment is that a lot of people who have a good process to trying to get successful, they don't tell their story, right? So there's a big gap that you can't really say how to. It's a gap in the market. A lot of people just see that immediacy of success. They don't see the process. So this book actually says, look, we are not Hamado, we are not Blono. We are defining our own success. We are telling you what success means to me. Like I told you the other day, like I just pay school fees. I'm very happy, right? That's the most. So everybody defines their own success. And this book tells
and make madam happy.
Yes. But paying school fees makes madam happy. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So So ultimately, defining your own success is critical. So I've kind of lost my thought there with this, your Madam Happy Small Uncle Chukuka. So let me go back to the question. Yesterday, Chuka made me do something on my Instagram, which is weird because I'm the one that usually makes him do things. And then when I was retyping my profile, I said, prior before I said, I'm an aspiring farmer, which is something I want to do. I want to move my life to farming. I've started already a bit small. And then I said, before I used to say I was daydreaming of being an author, which I can no longer do because I'm not told that I'm an author. So I've added a new description there, best-selling author, right? Because we believe this is content, right? Behind the fact that there's a commercial side to this book, we believe this is content that will actually help a lot of people. And it's almost at almost every level, right? Because we've tested it. If it's the young person who's sitting in the office right now thinking about how to be an entrepreneur, it will help them. If it's somebody sitting in London thinking about how to be an entrepreneur in London or in Nigeria, it will help them. If it's somebody who wants to invest in Nigeria, it basically has something for everybody. So one of Chuka's and I's best concerns right now is, how do we get this book to as many people as possible? And how do we push it out? Because we feel there's something in it for everybody that will help them in one way or another. Either you are 25 or you are 75, there's something for everybody. So our dreams and hope is that a lot of people get this book and they read it and they enjoy it.
Wow, great. The best way is the word of mouth, but...
No, absolutely. There's one thing I want to mention, because in case there's a 65 to 75-year-old listening, and you'll be like, yes, right. What are 40-something-year-olds going to tell me? Well, here's one thing that I should mention. In Nigeria, when fathers, especially fathers, but mothers sometimes, but especially fathers, across Africa, I don't know whether it's it, but when they die, they always leave, usually, they don't do a will, they don't put their financial house in order. My wife and children are running helter-skelter. The other children outside the house. The whole thing is just a mess. So we actually took time, even though we are younger, we are not there yet. We did our research. We used editors. We figured out a way to really understand that world. And some of us have had experience with that world, either helping siblings or something. So we talk a bit about, wills, putting your financial house in order, figuring out how to, ensure that you will not leave anybody lacking. You understand? So imagine if you are 65 listening to this, or 75, because you are a cool, correct, current person that knows that podcasts like this are very important. And Victor's show is one of the highly regarded shows to listen to. Then you obviously will need to get this book, because it will allow you, right, to get a better sense of that world and what to do to ensure that you do not leave people hanging.
Great. And also, I like the word you use, that you've started farming small.
Small,
because I knew of some guys, anyways, some of my circle, where we just like, oh, this cash is available, the loan came through, or the equity in the house came through, and boom, went back, plow, boof, big, and jump out big, back to London big. So you understand what I mean by big? Jump in, poof, everything blast.
Yeah.
Run into so many obstacles, you can't face them.
And you're
partnership, you don't know your partner, you just, the way you jumped in, that's how you came back.
Yeah, you left all the value on the table back there. And let me give you asked earlier about feelings. So here's one. I said, I had this land. I said, I'm going to grow cocoa. Cocoa is an amazing cash crop. I mean, the thing just is a school fees payer every year. I keep talking about school fees because I have 4 children. Just so you know. I didn't tell you in the beginning. I'm a father of 4. So,
so me 3. So we are coming back.
See, we're all in the same range now.
Yeah.
We're all in the same range.
Our boots. Yeah.
One has already finished university, so the other 3. So I planted cocoa on 3 hectares of land. Not a lot, but that was like over 4,000 trees. The math is a bit off because it shouldn't be that much on 3 hectares of land. So the trees, they're about waist high, growing. They are the best seed, so they grow a year and a half. So a year down the road, I would have had my first harvest, which I was told you're supposed to waste, and then the next harvest. But we're still researching because we still have waist high trees. And that's why I got called one morning with that fire. So I'm like thinking, did somebody come and burn my farm? But it turns out that area was urbanizing. So I didn't do my research. With all the talk I'm talking, I also didn't do my research. That area was becoming a bit too urban. So something like fire would happen because somebody's cooking, airbursts go in the air. And so the entire farm burnt down, right? And because to me, the way I started it I didn't start it with the idea I'm going to do this big, because 4,000 trees is now big now. 4,000 trees will give you a few $1,000s every time you harvest.
Mm-hmm.
Something in the range over like $10,000 or something like that at the rate of cocoa was going back then. So, and this is multiple times a year it happens. You come, it's a fantastic crop. So I didn't get insurance or anything like that because it was something that was supposed to be experiment. Because I had another couple of lots, another 3 hectares, another 3 hectares. So this was just a start. Let's just see how it go. Play. We have 4,000 trees. It wasn't supposed to be. It probably was supposed to be 10 trees or something. But when you are now doing this thing, you are in the mix. So things that you would normally do, like get insurance, none of that happened. So 4,000 trees all burnt down, and that's the end. So there's several stories of, will I ever make that?
It was your village people.
It can be. Like I said, I'm from the
No comment.
No comment.
No comment. Yeah. So it's been a wonderful time. So if they want to get this book, the In Pursuit book now, how can they? Do we need to pre-order or?
Yeah. So pre-order is going to happen on every channel that you're used to. You're going to get Amazon. You're going to get Nook. You're going to get Kobo. You're going to get Apple. There's a thing called Bookshop, which is based in the States. They actually will send you the paperback book. Because of C19 issues, Amazon, Nook, and all these guys, Barnes and Noble, they're not listing books, so you won't get paperback from them. You may be able to pre-order from them, but you won't get the paperback for a while. But Bookshop, we'll have all this on our website, which is inpursuitafrica.com. We should have that by the end of this week. All the details for ordering, and within the week or so, it will go live, and we welcome the world to buy this book.
So you can order straight from the website. That's
correct. Well, yes, the website will take you to all the platforms. So every platform you're used to. If you have an iPhone, then you go to Books. If you do Kindle, go to Amazon, and so forth.
Yeah, and we'll have a solution very shortly, also available for folks in country, in Nigeria, and so we're constantly expanding on the distribution chain that is available in Africa, because we know everybody else is fine, but obviously in Africa there's some issues sometimes. Sometimes there's issues with cards. Local currency payments don't work, sometimes issues. So we're working through all of those. But as Osaretin said, everything will be on the website. So if they go there, it's available to be bought, pre-order, and you get it.
Making it available in Africa will be great, because I know some people a friend of mine just relocated to Ghana beginning of this year.
Okay.
So and a book like this would be a great companion. Like, oh yeah, so they went through this. I'm going through this right now. To be a great companion to them. And going to do business in Nigeria, sometimes you feel like you are the only one who is, the whole world is coming against you.
It's called,
when they see you,
it's called You're Not Alone.
Yeah.
There's no experience under the sun. Yeah. There's no experience under the sun. If somebody's experienced it or experiencing it, at the same time, but you don't know. So you have to talk to other people. And that's actually one of the reasons. I mean, when you read the introduction to this book, one of the key reasons why, and we've not said it yet, one of the key reasons why we wrote this book is we want entrepreneurs and people to know that the experiences they're having, they're not alone. That is, I wouldn't call it normal, but it has been experienced by other people and surmounted by other people. And so therefore you can do the same. You're not alone.
Okay, great. So if they want to connect with you guys, where can they get in touch? They want to continue this conversation.
Well, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. I think you're gonna have it in the notes. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Web is the inpursuitafrica.com, the inpursuitbook.com. Instagram is the In Pursuit Book, at the In Pursuit Book. Twitter is In Pursuit A. So you'll get these on the notes of the podcast. But we're here on my Instagram is Osaretin. So you can find me on Instagram as Osaretin.
Mine is C Chukuma for both Instagram and Twitter. Yeah. So C Chukuma. And then, of course, we're reachable on LinkedIn as well. Our full names. For Oswald is Osaretin, Oswald Bobadia. And for me, it's Chukuka Chukuma. And by the way, very, very important, my Chukuka and my Chukuma do not have any W. So if you put W, you're on your own.
You won't find the result is that you won't find him. You will find a fake one with incomplete stories, not the real one.
No, we don't want incomplete story. You very said the complete story in your book, The In Pursuit, the African Entrepreneur's Journey. See, listen, guys, we've been talking to two heavy hitters who are currently on the trenches right now, and they've been doing great in their respective businesses in Africa. They've managed to come together and give us this clear picture of their journeys that they've been through, their trials, their failures, the obstacles, the challenges that they've gone through, and the success they've seen so far. And in their book, they've gladly wrote down so many steps that we can't even cover right now. So, but if you want to take this conversation further, you can reach out to them on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. They've given you the IDs, their names, their handles that you can connect with them. So if you go to the InPursuit, the InPursuit.com, right?
The InPursuitBook.com.
Yeah, the InPursuitBook.com.
InPursuitAfrica.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, if we can't say it properly right now, just check the show notes. You'll find it there. You know how it goes. So continue this conversation and don't let that itch die. Get the proper guidance from this book. Know the step by step so that you know. Like Osaretin said, you are not alone. There are people before you and there are still people coming after you. But don't forget, write your own book, write your own manuscript, write your own guide so that people can follow you. So you know how we do it here. Just pay it forward. Share this episode with anyone that you know that has the itch to go back to Africa, and create their own value there, create their own infrastructure there. If you need any guidance, reach out to any one of us, reach out to them. They are more on the forefront than I am. So what I would say now is like, share, and subscribe to this podcast, and have a great day.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.